One of my guilty pleasures I've recently found out I enjoyed is the certain subgenre in gaming called roguelikes. I like the innate randomness they provide, making sure each playthrough is different from the last, and when it's balanced with game mechanics to test the player's skill no matter what hand RNG dealt them, it's just straight out fun. Roguelikes aren't tied to any specific gaming genre, it's more like a filter you can put over anything. Roguelike platformer, roguelike dungeon crawler, roguelike card game. You can put the word roguelike in front of a 2004 Chevy sedan and trust me, it will work. Admittedly, I don't really consume much roguelike content. The only game I've had hands-on experience with was with Inscription, and I enjoyed every bit of it. Appalled by the creative mechanics and systems, it really opened my eyes to the world of roguelikes, and if I wasn't broke and had a gaming laptop that actually functioned like one, I'd be playing way more roguelike games. So could you imagine my surprise when I found out Mojang made a roguelike?
Yes sir, yes sir.
Did you know in Minecraft Dungeons there was a recent update that introduced the Tower? A daunting ensemble of 30 floors crawling with terrifying enemies you have to slay to reach the top and achieve a reward. It's a simple premise. You start with the lowest of gears, and as you go through the floors, you retrieve items you add to your arsenal and help you on your conquests. Upgrade and level up your gear and occasionally fight bosses on the way to benchmark your power. You only get 3 attempts. It's the rule of 3. And once you lose, please, why the love of God, please. And that's it. Try again later. The tower is simple. Straight to the point and on a base level, it's actually pretty fun. As soon as I found out this existed, this has been my go-to solo game to play when I'm bored. By far the most fun I've had in the game in a while. Everything just works decently together. I only use decently because the tower is not perfect. Yes, it's fun, it's a good time killer, and it is such a needed addition to the game, but I can't talk about the tower's flaws without talking about the flaws with Minecraft Dungeons first, because the shortcomings go hand in hand. The problem with Minecraft Dungeons, in my opinion, is it's incredibly straightforward. You can get from point A to B in a straight line, go from level to level, defeat everything in your way until you reach the end, in which you will be adequately geared up to fight the final boss. It's simple, and honestly, that was one of its strengths when it came out. You don't need to watch several tutorials to learn how to progress, like a game like Warframe. It was easy to pick up, easy to learn. There's nothing wrong with simple, but Dungeons was too simple. It lacked spice, style, deep content. You can have deep content while being simple, just make it interesting. I mean, look at Minecraft. Don't release DLC locked behind paywalls that are literally just the main game but reskinned. But for all the game's faults, there's a glaring issue just as big as its simplicity. For the life of the game, the developers cannot figure out balancing. I really appreciate non-PvP games that allow the players to be overpowered, but eventually, everything becomes easy. There's no challenge and therefore a reason to play as much. So the developers added a higher difficulty, and another, and another, and another, and another. When I tell you it's almost impossible to play missions in in-game, I mean it. Imagine a final boss of any video game. They're probably difficult to beat and a real challenge that tests your skill. Now imagine that boss replacing nearly every enemy on the map. Oh, like they're not even taking damage! What is that? I have high tier gear for my level and I was constantly getting slapped around left and right like I walked into an anime convention and said Demon Slayer was mid.
Oh, that spider combo is so annoying, my guy!
Being a high level literally means nothing if I'm still getting one-shotted like I was a level 1. Like, what am I even supposed to do at that point? I want a challenge, a struggle even, not a slaughter. The tower has the same problem. Literally the first level is a true test of your skill. You're supposed to fight a horde that's the biggest massive enemies out of the first 10 levels. Those heavies stop away a quarter of your health bar and the skeletons are designed to run away when you get close and bow spam you. Then you get to the next level and it's Weenie Hut Jr. There's no natural difficulty progression for each of the floors, which honestly makes it harder than it needs to be. Why make it to floor 30 when floor 13 is just as hard or even harder? And what sucks about the developers is whenever they want to make something more difficult, they just spam enemies. Or even if you were adequately prepared, it wouldn't matter because you'd get overrun eventually. Add this into the fact that you only get gear from beating floors as opposed to them dropping off enemies like the regular game, and the gear from each floor is not randomized, it kind of waters down the roguelike element. I think Minecraft Dungeons has the perfect system for a true roguelike. There are 100 plus weapons in the game, each being able to have 3 enchantments that literally change the way you use them. But I don't understand why they confine the loot pool to the same set of items per floor. I get the tower resets every couple weeks, but at the very least, couldn't the enchantments be random? I would have much rather had a system that allows you to get lower tier items from special mobs like the actual game, maybe a low chance to get something really good, and when you clear a floor, all the items you can choose from are random and are scaled to the floor you're on. There could be an exception that 1 out of the 6 items has a chance to be something really good compared to the floor you're on, but you also run the risk of it having pretty trash enchantments. That on its own would make this little sub-game mode a 9 out of 10 in my opinion, because it would add replayability. More replayability in the tower is honestly all it needs. Imagine every time you died on a high floor, the next time you run it and get past where you died, you get the leftover enchantment points from your past run, giving an incentive to run the tower again after you choke the time-consuming run. It'd be like death cards from Inscription, or there could be NPCs that spawn randomly you can pick up quests from. The quest could be something like do a certain amount of damage in the next floor, or take no damage, only use your bow, don't roll, complete in 5 minutes, stuff like that. Then you can redeem those quests for rewards that can help you if you're not having the best RNG with gear. A shop on each pre-boss floor would add another layer to the gameplay. Imagine just before going into a boss, you use some emeralds to buy a buff for only the next floor for a hefty but worth it price, or something even more simple, make it multiplayer. Multiplayer aspect with random loot would be fun. If each player got different loot or even just the same loot, you could coordinate and create some fun strategy. But those are all good ideas, and I have a saying when it comes to these AAA gaming developers and good ideas: if it's a good idea, they probably won't add it.